All right, so here we are. We're going to look at solving absolute value equations. First, we want to talk about properties of absolute value. The definition of absolute value is that it is a number's distance from zero. So, for example, if I want to find a number's distance from zero, let's say I have the number 5 on the number line. Well, the number 5 has a distance from zero of 5 steps. And then there's also another number out there that has a distance from zero that is 5. It's the number -5. I also know that that's 5 steps away. So the way we write that is that the absolute value of 5 is 5. And the absolute value of -5 is also 5. So you might have heard that the negative sign just gets taken away by absolute value. That's not necessarily true. We just want to better describe it. It's the number's distance from zero. Another situation arises where we have, let's say, the absolute value of x equals 5. Well, if a number's distance from zero is 5, we know there's two possibilities. 5 has a distance from 0 of 5, and -5 has a distance from 0 that is 5. So the answer to this equation would be x can equal 5, and it equals -5. So the first example we'll look at will be the absolute value of x equals absolute value of x minus 4 equals 6. Well, I realize that x minus 4 is a number, and when I take the absolute value of this number, I get a distance from 0 of 6. Well, there's two possibilities for that. Two possibilities. I could have, here's 0. I could be at -6, or I could be at 6. Now, whatever x minus 4 is, it's going to give me that distance of 6 from 0. So I have two possibilities that I need to look out for. So I'm going to solve my first one. I'm going to take what's inside the absolute value only and set it equal to the positive result, the positive side of 6. And then I'll solve that. I'm going to add 4 to both sides. I get x equals 10. When I check that, I get 10 minus 4 is 6. Absolute value of 6 is 6. Over here, I'll try the negative side. So I get x minus 4 equals -6. I'm looking at this possibility here. So I still solve the equation, add 4, I get x equals -6 plus 4, which is -2. When I plug in -2, I get -2 minus 4, it's -6, and the absolute value of -6 is 6. So both of these turn out to be solutions. When I look at this problem, it says there's some number out there whose absolute value is -5. Well, when I look at a number line, I need to figure out how do I go -5 steps away from 0. Well, that doesn't make any sense because all of our distances are going to be positive values. We talk about going places in positive values. I live 5 miles away. I don't live -5 miles away. So because this is the absolute value bars are isolated, there's nothing happening outside the absolute value bars, and I get a negative result, there is no solution to this problem. Nothing will make the equation true. So the next situation we're going to look at is what if there's more going on outside of the absolute value, such as a 2 times the absolute value and plus 6. The first thing we have to do, we have got to isolate the absolute value. So what that means is I'm going to subtract 6 first on both sides. Sorry, I kind of put that in the wrong spot, but it's kind of telling you what I'm trying to do here. The 6's cancel. 10 minus 6 gives me 4. I'm left with 2 times the absolute value of x minus 7. Well, my next step is 2 times something. I undo that by dividing. And I get the absolute value of x minus 7 equals 2. And now this looks like the problem we just did. We can break this into 2 parts because I could be 2 to the left of 0 at -2. Or I could be 2 to the right at +2. So what we'll do is write down x minus 7 equals 2 and x minus 7 equals negative 2. And I solve the simple equation. Adding 7 to both sides here, I get x equals 9. And adding 7 to both sides here, I get x equals 5. And there's my two solutions. When I plug those in, I get 9 minus 7, which is 2. Absolute value of 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. That works. Plugging in 5, 5 minus 7 is negative 2, but the absolute value of that is positive 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. That checks out. Both 9 and 5 are solutions. All right, last thing we're going to look at is extraneous solutions that might pop up when we're solving absolute value. First thing we looked at were when there were two solutions. The next thing we said there were no solutions are possible when the the not absolute value is negative. Now we're going to see what happens when we have a variable on the outside of our absolute value expression. So still, we're looking at a situation where we have a distance of 4x from 0. We could be positive 4x from 0, or we could be negative 4x from 0. We need to know both situations. So we'll look at this. We'll do 2x, only looking at what's inside the absolute value, plus 12 equals 4x. And then we do 2x plus 12 equals negative 4x, looking at both possibilities. So we'll solve the equation. Whoops. We're going to collect our variable terms. We get 12 equals 2x. Solving for x, get x equals 6. But I'm going to kind of put some dots around this one because I'm not so sure. I could get a negative result if I'm plugging in a negative number in for x. So I'm already supposing that this could be correct, but we're going to play it safe. We're going to check it in just a moment. So same thing. We're going to subtract 2x over here on the other solution, or possible solution. We get 12 equals negative 6x. Solving for x, we get x equals negative 2. So what we're going to do is check both of them. So we go back to the original problem. 2 times 6 plus 12 equals 4 times 6. This becomes 12. 12 plus 12 is 24. 4 times 6 is 24. So what we're looking at is that the absolute value of 24 is 24. That is right. That means 6 is a solution to the problem. So now we'll check, going back to the original problem, we'll plug in negative 2. And we're going back to this original problem, so I need a positive 4 here. That's going to give me a negative 8 on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, I get 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 12 is 8. The absolute value of 8 is not negative 8. It can't be negative. Okay, if you want to solve it one more step, the absolute value of 8 is 8. Again, 8 does not equal negative 8. So we would call negative 2 an extraneous solution to the problem. It's a solution that you get by solving the equation, but it does not make the equation true.